On a Friday morning, hey, good morning. Welcome to the WFRN Morning Show. Cody Collier here and Doug taking the day off. Thanks for joining us for a special time on Friday mornings with Triple P with Trisha. Good morning, Trisha, the Positive Parenting Program.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm well. I'm just so loving this cold weather as I shake my head.
Right?
Yeah. So my kids are excited, though, because it's supposed to snow. So that's all good.
I think we are one family that was guilty of the snow pants and coats and boots for Christmas gift.
Yep.
And then they've been still in the boxes ever since.
Yep. Same here. My kids went through a huge growth spurt. We're like, oh, my goodness, nothing fits. And yeah, they're all just sitting there.
Maybe this weekend.
But we can be optimistic about that, right?
Yes, we can. We can also be optimistic about some parenting solutions. And because raising a family is not simple.
Correct.
It can be complicated. And you're here to help with some helpful tips on how we can be better parents, as we are always trying to level up on the things that we're doing with our family. So what do you have for us this morning?
Well, I do want to talk about emotional resilience and how can we, as parents, encourage our children to be thinking in a positive perspective.
Okay.
Even when life's challenging. I know a lot of time, especially for like third graders, they get that I read or that I step test and they start freaking out, and there's a lot of anxiety and like there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and there's other stressors in life. So how can we as parents help them manage those bigger or more complicated emotions?
Ooh.
And so we have to model and teach those emotional skills, those coping skills to help them with that. So one of the easy tips that it's not easy, I shouldn't say easy.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's easy to say, not easy to do. But we want to lead by example. So this means we have to be intentional as parents to listen to ourselves. What exactly are we saying? How are we saying this with our tone of voice, with our body language? So when we're talking about other people or situations, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the negative and the failures, or are you trying to find the positives in that situation? So you know what? You rode your bike, you crashed, but you rode your bike 2 sidewalk squares farther this time before you crashed. So pointing out the positives to our kids to build that resilience, because you want them to be able to pick themselves back up and try again.
One of the things that I do is I will kind of define a situation by its worst positive thing. And I'll say, at the very worst, we're going to be late for this. Can we live with that? That's the worst thing that could happen, and it's actually not even that bad.
Right.
So I try to, and then work up from there.
Yeah. Putting things in perspective. And we have to teach our kids that, because they don't have that broader knowledge scope to look at situations like that. And you can have fun with this. It is challenging, but sometimes you can get goofy and have fun with it. Because again, 2 sidewalk squares. You made it 2 sidewalk squares. Maybe you just made it past the little crack. Pointing out the little victories. And to do this with our kids, again, I know it's not summer, but some kids are still out riding their bikes. Have your children set goals. So, like you said, the worst, we're just going to be late. We want to get out of the house by 9 o'clock so we can get there on time. If we leave by 9:05, we still all got out in a happy mood. We're late, but we got out in a happy mood.
Also still good.
Yes. Finding those little positives, those little victories can be really helpful to our kids, because again, hopefully when they have a challenging situation or they notice a friend at school who's struggling with something, maybe they could go be that comforter to them. Say, you know what? You did your best and you tried really hard. And then they're showing that and moving and passing that forward to others. Yeah,
and we have to make sure when we as parents are dealing with something like that and it doesn't really involve them, but they're watching it, that we don't run around the house slamming doors and knocking over furniture, because then they think, oh, that's how I'm supposed to act when I'm stressed out.
Right.
Doing something like that would be okay, because it's not.
Yeah, it's not. We don't want to go and do that off at work, and we don't want our kids doing that at school. No. Change starts with us. And we have to be intentional about this. Yeah, we're going to screw up. We're going to have those rough days. That's okay. This is where you practice your own emotional coping skills. Pick yourself back up. Like, you know what? I caught myself losing it, and now I'm not going to. So I did good here. I stopped myself where yesterday I didn't. So find the things that you're doing well as a parent yourself. Because again, like you said earlier, parenting can be really challenging. So when you're having a rough day, I challenge you as parents to find things that you are doing well. Did your kid wake up this morning? Did you get your child to school? Did they eat breakfast? Do you have a roof over their head? Like any positive that you're doing for the benefit of your child is just showing your success as a parent.
Yeah.
So you are doing a good job. Even on the worst days, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So like you said, modeling for your kids, like don't slam doors and stuff. We want to share with our kids when we're talking about challenges, like what we did well in a challenge to model this. So then you can ask them like, well, what did you do well on this test at school? Like you're really upset that you got a B, but what did you do good? Do you see those 90 questions you got right?
Yeah.
Or are you only seeing these 10 questions you got wrong? So let's celebrate what you did do, pointing out, again, changing their focus, reshifting that perspective to encourage them. And then if you have a child who, can be more harsh on themselves, go ahead, like those kids that like really, they'll beat themselves up internally.
Right.
You want to go ahead, I would encourage you to point out some things they did well before you point out an area to correct with them.
Okay.
So you kind of make that compliment sandwich. So point out the positives, another positive or two, one thing to focus on and improve, and then follow that up with an encouragement. So they can walk away feeling empowered and not feeling like they're a horrible failure as a child.
Can I ask you what you do in a situation where it's kind of the opposite? Where you're not kind of trying to encourage a child that might be down, but you're kind of trying to encourage a child to do better when they think everything's okay when it's kind of not. Here's an example from absolutely nowhere. But let's say a child is doing well in school, all except for this one class. And their attitude is kind of like, hey, you know, I've got all A's except for this one. But as a parent, you're like, I'd really like to see that one be an A too, because it's not even a B either. Like, how do you, because they seem to be kind of not concerned, but as a parent, you're concerned about that other grade. How do you take something like that and try to encourage them to do better there? Gently, without making them feel like a giant failure. Yeah,
without making them feel like a giant failure. So I want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So for you, like you said, you made it up. Like
for anybody.
I'm hearing you say that you're seeing the child not reach their fullest potential.
Right.
And that can be challenging and frustrating because we're like, we know you can do better. Come on. So I would say it would probably depend on the personality and realizing like what's going to motivate that child. So Triple P has other strategies for motivation. And sometimes it's just like, you know what? You've proved you can get A's. You got this one. It's not an A. You're not concerned about the class. You say it's easy. Like, I just wonder, like, do you think you could bump that up for an A just because? Like, I don't know. It would depend on, like, the child and how you communicate.
Just put a challenge out there.
Yeah. So I have boys. My boys love challenges. So that's what works for me at times. I'm like, okay, like this semester you got like, I don't know, let's say a B+, but you were pushing for an A. So what's the timeline where you think you could realistically receive an A? And so they set their goal and that's what they strive for, is whether or not they reach it. But like, that's a good question. And I really don't know how to give a solution to that. But we have to try things out as parents. So I encourage you, try something, see how it goes, and then reevaluate and try something different if it doesn't work after giving it a solid go.
All right, cool. Well, Trisha, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning on the WFRN Morning Show. You guys have a lot of events going on all the time in the community. Most events are free or low cost, and many of the events have childcare. You can find out more at your website, PPLCartCounty.org, and then also on Facebook at PPP Elkhart County. But even if you're not in Elkhart County, you can still reach out to them.
Absolutely.
And they can give you some resources. What's your next event coming up?
Well, at Yellow Creek Mennonite Church here in the Goshen area, we have a large selection of seminars coming up for the next 2 months. But next week on Wednesday, January 22nd, we have Raising Resilient Children, helping our children deal with and manage their emotions in a healthy, productive way. So check us out. Come join us. There's childcare and dinner. So check out the website for more information.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Trisha, thank you so much. PPPElkhartCounty.org and on Facebook at PPP Elkhart County. Thanks, Trisha.
Thank you.